shocked. Moving slowly, I know.
All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Us Against the World podcast. I'm your co-host, Irvin Mendoza.
Hey, this is Jason Ortiz.
And we are here with Alkaid Ramirez. Welcome,
sir.
Alkaid.
How's it going, guys? Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Yeah, literally at your studio.
Yes. As you can see, we're not in our living room or Irvin's living room. You know, they kicked us out.
Change of scenery.
Yeah, they kicked us out, so we can't kick it there.
Couldn't pay the rent this time.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that.
We'll talk.
Eviction notice is
Yeah.
coming out.
No, but thank you for having us in your studio here. We got to you gave us a tour.
Yeah, man, it's
set the
amazing.
mood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Alkaid, so you're a Anaheim photographer. How would you describe what you do and your style of photography?
Yeah.
I would identify my work as being, documentary work. A lot of it just kind of capturing culture. A lot of it kind of like seeing where I am in my space, in my community, within my own eyes. But right now I'm working, a lot of my work is like trying to identify and solidify some kind of identification with myself.
What cities did you grow up in? Anaheim, Santa Ana? Because I know you've been around a few places.
Well, I was born in Santa Ana, but immediately after we moved to Anaheim. So I grew up mostly in Anaheim, right off of Anaheim Boulevard.
How was it growing up in Anaheim and Santa Ana? Because now it's a different world from way back then, lots of years ago.
For real.
Yeah, it's changed a lot, and you don't really notice the changes until you really put some perspective to it and you really become aware of what the change is.
And you talk about perspective, and I really like that because it could be perspective of time. Because how old are you, if I may ask?
26.
26.
Yeah.
So same here. And we grew up in Anaheim as well, and we've seen changes, and we see new buildings rising and a lot of scaffolding going on, especially where I live right now in Anaheim Boulevard too, in Lincoln area. They're making new townhomes, Mm-hmm. And I see by the packing center, all of that stuff. So it is relative to 11 years ago when I moved to that area. We used to live in another place called Park Lane.
Shout out Park Lane Studios.
Yeah, that's where we grew up. But then I moved down to downtown Anaheim, and I've seen it from these last 11 years. Oh my goodness, very, very, a lot of change. And I see that through first of all, your photography, but also your vision. You showcase places that we see on a day-to-day basis,
Right.
that we just sometimes could take for granted. And we're like, oh, that's our neighbor. Oh, that's a house.
Right.
But that might disappear in 20 years, 10 years. So it is about perspective, man. So what can you say on that? For example, your art. I would say art,
Yeah, dude, that actually kind of really hit it on the point there. These are all, what you see in my work are all spaces that we see on a daily basis. But when it comes to the environment, your identity and your mentality kind of comes from the environment that you are around. So these snapshots of things that you see on a daily basis, these are pieces of you. Mm-hmm. You like you said, we take them for granted.
Yeah, there's I don't know, but when I see a photography, well, for example, one of your photos is in front of a marketplace, like a mercado, but carniceria looks all old. There's a feeling I get when I see that. There's a feeling of nostalgia, a feeling of, even though I've never been there or I can't pinpoint exactly what market that is,
home,
I feel a connection to it.
Right.
Because of maybe I went to something similar like that when I was a kid. Not maybe, but I did.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the power or feeling that I get from your photography.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too. There's nostalgia, and then there's you might see yourself in that place again, and then you'll start recognizing I recognize this smell, or I recognize these colors and the people that are here as well. And it's all part of what shapes you as a person. Having left Anaheim, I went to school in Humboldt County. I went to HSU, and I spent a good amount of 3 years there. I was when I fucking left, I was ready to dip. I came out of Santa Ana College. I was yo, I'm so excited to just fucking dip. I want to leave, Orange County. I want to leave Anaheim.
Explore the world.
Yeah, man. I want to leave here. There's nothing here for me, blah, blah, blah. Try to be all, rambunctious and rebellious and shit. And I did that. I left. I experienced it. And I had hella fun. I met tons of amazing people. I had great experiences. And when I came back home, I realized, damn, a lot of this shit that I've picked up, a lot of the lingo, a lot of the characteristics that I tried to assimilate with, they don't, that's not me. That's not where I am anymore. I really tried to combat that by creating work. And it was difficult at first because at first I'm all I picked up photography over there, and then I brought it back down here doing film still. And I was like, I'm gonna create, just regular photography work, try to focus on aesthetics and stuff. and like none of it felt good. Like none of it felt fulfilling. And it wasn't until I actually met William Camargo, one of my studio mates, Billy the camera. It wasn't until I met him, and then he introduced me to, I was introduced to his work by my partner, Leslie. Okay. Shout out, babe.
Okay. There you go.
But it wasn't until that they introduced me to their work, and I started to see what photography can be used for. And then in introducing to him, he introduced me to other folks, and then that got me into mutual aid. And then I just started meeting all these people who are like, they came from the same place I came from, the same communities, the same cultures, the same backgrounds, and instead of like saying, fuck, I want to leave, they said, no, we're going to stay here. We're going to hold it down, and we're going to make it better, know?
Where do you think this passion and interest came from towards, like you said, identity, connecting with people, showing, look where we're from, loving the culture? Where do you think that came from when you were a kid?
Yeah, why do you care? Yeah, exactly. Like, why do you care?
That's a good question. Why do you care?
Because I'm a Cancer. Nah. Growing up as a kid, like I always was like, I always wanted to be friendly. I was always friendly. I was always like, took benefit of the doubt when it comes to folks. I was always a little bit too nice, especially like, I could say like in high school, like I always felt like I could help people with their issues, talk it out with them, help them see the light of the situation. And that was also initially why I wanted to do psychology, because it was like, oh, I have this talent. But no, I was just being fucking, I was just being nosy and shit,
So a social butterfly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. But it wasn't until like when I started seeing what photography and what art can really do, what it could platform, what it can speak, and how I can use it to benefit the community. And then I can't even dig into that work until I actually put in the work, right? So like this work didn't start materializing itself until I actually put myself in a position where I was doing the work, And then that's where, I was lucky enough to meet William. And then from him, we started, me, him, and a good amount of other folks. I'm not going to identify them. We started Anaheim Autonomous Coalition. Let me just tell you what Anaheim Autonomous Coalition is first. It's basically what it is we're like an organization that we want to work towards creating an autonomous community to where we're able to feed, house, and benefit each other without the absolute need of an outside force if it's not given to us,
Okay.
We focus a lot on mutual aid, helping our homeless brothers and sisters out there, and not by the means of people who hold material necessities over our heads.
Yeah, man, that's a good topic to talk about. Yeah, we were talking about that, me and Irvin earlier, and Hugo, all of us just brainstorming, like, what can we ask you, because we were going to ask, like, how do you make ends meet? We asked Dino, like, hey, he has a 9 to 5. Like, you have to pay your bills. Like, you have to be autonomous yourself. You have to be self-sufficient, first of all, for yourself. Sure. You have a girlfriend, like maybe you have a family, maybe you still want to take care of your parents. That's like kind of a struggle, like the minority,
like immigrants.
Youth.
Yeah, we still want to look out for other people. Like, how did you sustain yourself? Because relative to that guy that's at the coffee shop, getting his 9 to 5, maybe paid off hourly, you have to look out for yourself. Like, how does that work with you? And then also giving back, because you want to do that too. How did you manage all that?
So, in managing, like, at least for myself, like this isn't my full time. This is my free time. This is my any other time that I can spare, and obviously like it's enough time for me to be able to pull in the resources to be in a studio. But mainly I work as a behavioral therapist.
Okay.
So obviously that degree is good for something, It
works.
So I do behavioral therapy with children with autism.
Okay.
So that's like how I make ends meet. And then, side hustles, side gigs here and there, whenever people hit me up. Like last night I did a pop-up shoot here for the Santa Ana Art Walk. I do glamour shots, you know, just some old school, you know, like freedom ass shit with like with half foods coming through, you know, hella
90s shots,
look hella fly and shit, you know, bring your food, bring your boo thing next time, you know, every first Saturday of the month, y'all come on through.
Saturday of the month.
That's a cute little date idea, low key, having that shot taken.
Yeah,
that's
man.
a cute little date idea.
And you know what? Yeah, it's like, it's always about the experience too. When people see the shot, they're like, wow. Like, wow, that's so fun. So I always like seeing that.
Going back to your photography, was there any encounter or interaction where you took a photo or something that made you feel like, okay, I love doing this?
It was when I started doing my El Jale series, which is when I started shooting photos like on my series on Polaroids. That was like one of the first projects where I was like, wow, like this is me taking the next step to creating work that is actually meaningful for me. Because beforehand, like I took, you know, nice photos here and there. You know, I made a zine like from my time in Humboldt County with all the film that I shot there. And it was nice and all, but it still wasn't an answer to my inspirational needs.
To the people who don't know, what exactly is El Jale, like that project?
So El Jale was a project that I shot in the middle of the pandemic around the summer of 2020. Swap meets had just, you know, come back up, you know, with mask mandates and everything. And for the most part, people were following it. So I took it upon myself, and me and my partner, we went like almost every weekend, probably for I think June and July. And what I was really focusing on was like trying to capture kind of like hit points.
Okay.
You know, really focusing on like when I thought of the Swami, what did I see, you know? And also focusing on the community trying to make ends meet. You know?
Basically.
But like how you asked me, how do I make ends meet? Like they got to do the same thing, bro, you know? And a lot of these folks who work and pop up here, you know, they don't have their papers, you know, they're undocumented homies. They're undocumented folks, and they don't have the luxury like a lot of people do to be able to like work at home, you know, be able to like, you know, continue to make like, you know, a side gig by like coding or some shit like that, you know. All they know is labor, you know, all they know is labor, and I can use my labor in this way to be able to get money.
Right.
Whether it's like buying, you know, toys from a wholesale and then selling them at the swap meet, whether it's buying flowers at a wholesale and then like, you know, being those same flower wholesale dealers that deal them out to other folks who are sitting in like in the corners and selling them to you. I was trying to show the peak of resilience.
Yeah, man. So we were kind of brainstorming what we can talk about, and we've seen like in our community, you know, through our network, we've had people that sometimes and they utilize our community as a token to get into a space, maybe for their own benefit, maybe for their own pockets, for their own clout. You know, what do you think about that? Because let me give you an example, I guess. For example, let's say a news station. They need a minority segment. They want to see more progressive, you know? Yeah. You know, and I'm not saying, you know, I hope they're not using you for that, or I hope they don't ever use us for that. But we're going to genuinely use that for obviously helping out our community.
Exposure for us.
Exposure, and then it helps out eventually the community through our view. But then they're seeing it like, oh, we finally get a minority segment in our whole skit of everything, you know? And we're good. We're safe. What do you think about that? Maybe can you talk on that, or have you ever thought about that? Like, I don't want to be used by somebody,
organizations,
or like my beautiful photography. I'm doing it because I have a vision, I have a mission, but they use it for another idea, you know, maybe for their benefit.
Right, just to fucking make it seem like they're about it.
They're about it, exactly.
That's neoliberalism for you. Yeah, bro. I think when it comes to stuff like that, it's gonna be whenever you run into situations where people want to tokenize, you know, our community, or tokenize, you know, brown or black folk or black, indigenous, you know, people of color, in any way, shape, or form, it's always gonna fall so short. Like people who are gonna fall for that shit, honestly, are gonna be people who don't see the actual inequalities in front of them. Okay. That they don't see the material changes from stuff like that. You can fucking post black squares all you want, you know. Yeah. You can fucking say you're, you know, BLM and all this stuff and that.
Hashtag BLM in their bio?
Yeah,
they're not making a difference?
Dead ass, bro. It's like, look, bro, if you're going to be about it, then you need to fucking put yourself forward and be fucking about it. You need to put fucking boots on the ground, right? You need to be you know, whether it's like, it doesn't have to be a radical form of doing it, right? It can just be like, you know, finding ways to organize in your community to you know, help, you know, whether it's your neighbors or to help one another in one way, shape, or form. You know, it can be donating to an organization. Like, it doesn't have to be a drastic thing, but if you're gonna fucking sit back, you know, fucking take a picture, post a thing, and like not fucking put in the work, then you're wasting time, you know? And on top of that, I read this very, very, very amazing piece by Nick Drain, who's he was published in the Photographer's Green Book, which is, I'm not sure if you ever heard of the Green Book back in the 50s, but it was like a motorist guide for African-American folks who were there trying to like go through travel through the South, trying to find safe havens around the times where there was a lot of like Jim Crow times were going on and whatnot. But he put this really amazing statement, or his essay, where he talks about how there's violence being committed in two ways to Black and brown communities. It's invisibility and hyper visibility, or high visibility. Invisibility is hiding the inequalities that hide, you know, you don't show the inequalities that are going on, you know. Hyper visibility is a form of violence in the form where you are platforming a community, and you're also putting the atrocities that are being committed upon them in front of your face. Even more. Yeah. And it becomes a normalization of those atrocities. You know, obviously they have to be documented. They have to be known. But the fact that, you know, there's so much focus around them makes it normalized. And it obviously created a movement where there's been an increase in like mutual aid and all that stuff. But it also created a lot of kind of like fake woke folks. And that isn't to say that their intentions are good.
Yeah, you know, of course.
Like I think if you can dismantle the ideology that you have, that you previously thought you had, and like work through it, like you're doing the work right there too. But it's still not enough, you know. Oh. It's not enough to just fucking tokenize a community.
So we want to go into a last segment.
You ask it.
Yeah, I'll ask it, man. So usually every guest, man, we have them. You maybe think about it, but you kind of went into it. And maybe you want to elaborate on it. You know, what kind of piece of advice, or what you know, what can you tell somebody that's will be in your shoes, is in your shoes right now, or is inspired by this interview and like, okay, I want to listen more and learn more from, you know, from this experience. Do you have any pieces of advice?
As an artist, just keep making work.
Okay.
Keep making work, and keep making work until you find something that clicks. You know, it's not going to be the same tomorrow. It's not going to be the same a week later, a month. Like, things, you're going to find, you know, new things that inspire you, but just continue, you know, making work, and continue really like looking to others for inspiration too. Like, look at other artists, you know, read, you know, if you have the resources, like, you know, read some work from other people, or, you know, kind of like, for me, a big factor for me was like, you know, I had to, coming from psychology, I didn't have a real dense knowledge of like the art world. So now I'm like learning about all these artists, and I'm like looking into their work, and I'm like really trying to identify, or trying to get a feel for what they create. And it's like, you know, the more I dig deeper and the more I create work, the more I'm able to feel a lot more a full sense of self with the stuff that I create. So to any person out there who's like in my shoes, or is like looking to take that next step, like just keep creating work, you know, keep at it. Even if it takes up like, you know, maybe if it just takes like an hour of your day, 30 minutes of your day to do something, you know, if I was a photographer, go take a picture, you know, go for a walk, take your camera with you, you know, or journal, and then think about it, and then be like, okay, what do I want to capture? You know, what am I trying to create? You know,
that's
just
true.
Keep working.
Keep working.
Good stuff, man.
Keep working. Keep going at it, man. That's good. Thank you. That's good advice. I'm inspired now. I asked that for me. I'm just kidding. There you go, man.
And I'll also add one more thing. And as like as somebody who wants to like be, who wants to benefit the community, like find those people. Right. Find the people who you see are putting work in your community, and reach out to them, you know? Like, that's all it really takes. Like, just reach out to them, and ask them, hey, like, how can I help? If you don't have money, don't worry about it. But if you got time, like, it doesn't hurt, an hour out of the week, to do something, like, it's something, man.
That's
like
something, yeah.
Give something, like if that's like something you want to see yourself doing, or you want to like see yourself in, like you'll find the time to make it, to put it in there. So like, reach out to your community.
Thank you guys for checking out another episode of the Us Against the World podcast. So this is your co-host Irvin Mendoza signing out.
Hey, this has been Jason Ortiz, your other co-host.
And I'm Alkaid Ramirez. Check me out at Totes the Wizard.
Oh yeah, we didn't even plug in your socials.
Bro,
I'm sorry,
for real,
bro.
we didn't
We'll plug it all in.
We'll plug it in.
Yeah, what's your IG, man, so people can find you?
All right, you mind if I do a couple shout outs to you real quick?
Go for it, man.
Right.
Go for it.
IG, you all want to follow me? I'm at Totes the Wizard on Instagram. Shout out to the Big Five homies, everyone in the Sad Chat. Shout out to my family and my friends. Shout out to my parents. Shout out to Leslie, my partner. Shout out to everybody at OC Protest, at UCI for Cola, and Anaheim Autonomous Coalition. If you guys have time, go ahead and follow them on those socials as well. They're all as they are there. I'll go ahead and pass the information to these guys, but feel free to donate to the cause. We can always use support and volunteers if you got the time.
There you go. Shout out to them.
Yeah, we'll link all of that below, so check it out. And yeah, thank you guys again for checking us out. And until next time.
Late.